He believed his money made him untouchable. He believed the law didn't apply to him. But in one courtroom, in front of everyone, Judge Frank Caprio shattered that illusion and changed his life forever. What happened next stunned the entire room. Brandon Whitmore grew up surrounded by wealth, privilege, and protection from consequences. Born into a three-generation construction empire, he never had to earn respect or prove himself. Everything was handed to him: luxury cars, a sprawling mansion, elite education, and endless second chances. Over time, this lifestyle created a dangerous belief: rules existed only for ordinary people. To Brandon, money wasn't just comfort, it was armor. Armor against responsibility, accountability, and reality. From a young age, he learned that mistakes could always be erased with the right lawyer, the right payment, or the right phone call. As Brandon grew older, that belief became his personality. He drifted through the family business without contributing anything meaningful, arriving late to meetings, signing documents prepared by others. Despite doing almost nothing, he lived in an 11,000-square-foot mansion paid for by his father. His garage was filled with supercars worth millions, symbols of status rather than achievement. Among Rhode Island's elite, Brandon wasn't known for intelligence or hard work. He was known for arrogance. He constantly reminded people of his wealth and last name, acting as if those alone made him superior. Respect, in his mind, was something others owed him. But his most dangerous flaw was alcohol. Over the years, Brandon was arrested 3 separate times for driving under the influence. Each time, his blood alcohol level was far above the legal limit. Each time, his recklessness could have ended lives. And each time, powerful lawyers reduced the consequences. Probation replaced prison. Classes replaced accountability. Brandon never spent a single night behind bars. Instead of learning humility, he learned something far worse: that the system could be manipulated. That belief led to a 4th offense, one that would finally change everything. 6 weeks before his court appearance, Brandon made the mistake that exposed his illusion of invincibility. At 2 a.m., he was driving his Ferrari at nearly 120 miles per hour through a quiet residential neighborhood. Families were asleep. Streets were dark. One wrong move could have ended multiple lives. When police stopped him, his blood alcohol level was measured at 0.19%, more than double the legal limit. Under Rhode Island law, a 4th DUI carried mandatory prison time. Yet Brandon remained calm. He had just left an exclusive nightclub where he spent thousands on champagne to impress strangers. To him, the arrest was nothing more than an inconvenience. He assumed his lawyer would negotiate, the prosecutor would offer a deal, and the judge would approve it. Remorse never crossed his mind. That arrogance followed him into the courthouse. On the morning of the hearing, Brandon arrived dressed like he was attending a fashion event, not facing possible prison time. Designer suit, luxury shoes, diamond accessories, a watch worth $500,000. Before entering the building, he parked his Ferrari in a restricted area reserved for official vehicles. When warned, he waved dismissively and walked away. Rules, to Brandon, were merely suggestions, meant for other people. Inside the courthouse, his behavior only grew worse. At security, he made a show of removing his watch, loudly announcing its value as if it were an achievement rather than an accessory. He wanted everyone to hear it. He wanted everyone to know who he was, or at least who he believed himself to be. People waiting in line, many burdened by unpaid fines, court dates, and real consequences, exchanged glances and rolled their eyes. Some shook their heads quietly. Instead of appearing powerful, Brandon appeared completely disconnected from reality, like someone playing a role in a world he didn't understand. Before entering the courtroom, his lawyer, Vincent Sterling, pulled him aside. Vincent had defended Brandon successfully in the past, but this time his tone was different, urgent, almost desperate. He warned Brandon to dress modestly, stay off his phone, and show genuine remorse. He emphasized that this case was far more serious than the previous ones, and that any sign of disrespect could be disastrous. Brandon nodded along, offering empty promises. He barely listened. Deep down, he believed his lawyer would fix everything, again. When Judge Frank Caprio entered the courtroom, everyone stood. Everyone except Brandon. Distracted by his phone, Brandon remained seated, scrolling casually, until his lawyer sharply elbowed him. He rose slowly, irritated more than embarrassed. Judge Caprio noticed immediately. As other cases were heard, Brandon grew restless. He sighed loudly, checked his phone repeatedly, and, despite whispered warnings, eventually put in earbuds, treating the courtroom like a waiting room rather than a place where lives were changed. When his case was finally called, Brandon approached the podium with casual confidence, leaning against it instead of standing upright. His posture alone spoke volumes. As the prosecutor detailed his fourth DUI, his excessive speed, his dangerously high blood alcohol level, and his history of prior convictions, Brandon barely listened. He stared down at his phone, scrolling, uninterested, as if someone else's life were being discussed. Judge Caprio watched silently. Then he broke the moment with a single question. "Is there something on your phone more important than the fact that you're facing prison?" Brandon looked up, visibly annoyed, as though he had been interrupted over something trivial. He didn't apologize, he didn't show fear. Instead, he casually explained that his lawyer and the prosecutor would work something out, just like before. He said he'd pay a fine, attend a few classes, and move on with his life. Then he added something that stunned the room. He asked if they could hurry because he had an important lunch reservation. The courtroom went completely silent. In less than a minute, Brandon had minimized drunk driving, insulted the judicial process, and assumed immunity based on wealth. His lawyer's face drained of color. He knew the damage was irreversible. Judge Caprio's expression changed, not with anger, but with unmistakable clarity. He reminded Brandon that this was his courtroom and outcomes were not decided by money, assumptions, or past favors. He rejected any possibility of a plea deal. Then came the words Brandon never expected to hear. Judge Caprio revoked his bail and ordered him taken into custody immediately. Handcuffs closed around wrists that once wore a $500,000 watch. Panic replaced arrogance. Brandon protested. He begged. He claimed it was unfair. The judge remained unmoved. The courtroom watched as privilege collapsed in real time. In the weeks that followed, Brandon experienced life without luxury, protection, or influence. Prison stripped away the illusion money had built. For the first time in his life, wealth could not buy freedom. At trial, the evidence was overwhelming. Dashcam footage, breath test results, and witness testimony left no room for doubt. The jury found him guilty on all counts. At sentencing, Judge Caprio explained that repeated mercy had been mistaken for permission. The sentence was final. 3 years in state prison, permanent revocation of his driver's license, strict probation, and heavy fines. Brandon cried as he was led away. The man who once believed he was untouchable was gone, and the message was clear. Wealth does not place anyone above the law. Justice does not recognize last names. It recognizes actions.